So far we understood, right? We need a API gateway basically, to get the location of the APIs, right? So that client can actually connect. Now what is the location here? It will be IP and the port, right? So you have maybe account service, order service, shipping service, book service. Each service will be running in a particular IP and a port. And maybe different instances of account service are running in maybe two different containers. Like first Docker container IP is different, the second container IP is different, and maybe it is dynamic. Every day IP is changing, right? Based on how you orchestrate all those containers, right? So IP also may change every second. It will not change, but yeah, depending on your setup it may change basically. It is totally dynamic kind of setup, right? So service registry is nothing but a database. You can consider it is a database which will have the list of all these addresses and the port in a DB. Okay, so the server has to maintain now no this particular, your backend has to maintain a registry or a simple word, a database, which will be updated as and when new services are getting added, as and when services are removed, right? So you have to update that database. So this is a one point, one single point database for you, which will contain all the details of all the services basically. Okay. Now there are two kinds of service registration, two ways we can do service registration. One is self registration and one is third party registration. So let's understand one by one what these two types are, right? So what is self registration basically? So self registration is like microservices are responsible to register themselves to the service registry. Okay, so if you see in the diagram, right? So when the microservices is going up or down, it should tell the registry that this is, I'm changing basically. My address is going to change now. You update your database. So how it will update? Obviously, call. It has to call that service registry and then update it. And probably you can have service registration APIs here. Okay, so there are advantages or disadvantages also in this approach. One disadvantage I could think of, suppose the service is abruptly, closed, or the process is gone, killed, and no, how the registry will know basically, right? So if service is not able to connect to the registry, then that information will not come to the registry, right? So because of any reason, if service, the link between the service and the registry is gone, so this entire process will go down. Okay, so that is one disadvantage. And yeah, it has to periodically not tell, right? So keep on telling in some interval, right? Okay, I'm live, or I'm gone. So there should be some threshold here, like if after maybe 1 second service registry didn't get ping from microservice one, so it will consider that service is gone, like it will update the database accordingly. So another way, like that is called third party registration here. So we will have a service manager in between, which will actually ping the microservices and update the service registry. So it is the other, the direction is now moving. Previously, what we were doing, like it was the microservices responsibility, right? So it used to update the service registry, but third party registration may, the service registry has to listen to the events, maybe from a cluster, like if you are maintaining a Kubernetes cluster where you are actually running all your services, right? So it has to listen to some events, and based on the response it will update the service registry. Okay, so it will periodically check which service is up, which is down, or if any problem detected, it has to update the database basically. Okay, So this is again a majorly or popular way of registration, where your responsibility is, we are moving away that responsibility basically from the microservices, and no, we are giving that responsibility to the service registry manager, which will no, update the database. Okay, so if anything is down, it will update. So these are the two no, ways how we can actually update our service registration. So far we understood, right? So we need basically a database, right? So that is the service registries. Then what is service actually discovery? How services will know, right? That this database exists, and how it will get the data or information about the services. So service discovery, we have actually two types. Okay, so one is client side discovery, and one is server side discovery. Let's understand both about the thing. So if it is a client side discovery, we will give that responsibility to the client, basically, to check the service registry. So you may need to expose a endpoint for the client. Okay, and get the details. First call will be like client will check if that, and if whatever information it is looking for, right? So that API is there or not in the service registry. It will send a first call to the service registry. So service registry, a client will mention, okay, I want microservice, maybe product info. Is it available? So service registry will send a response accordingly. Like if it is there in its database, so it will tell, yeah, it is available. You can connect to so and so IP and so port. If it is not there, probably it will tell the client, like, yeah, it is, this service is not there. So once clients knows, this is the endpoint, URI, like, this is the IP port, and the path which it wants to connect. So a client will send a request to the API gateway, and then API gateway will send a request to the microservice. Okay, this is the way, client side discovery will work. So client is actually directly communicating to the service registry, and then it is getting the response. Okay, so entire responsibility will lie on the client. So you have to add additional, service registry endpoints you have to expose for the client. No, the disadvantage is, like, client every time has to query the service registry before proceeding. So one extra call will be always there for the client, irrespective of how many no, next call it makes. One, the first one, right, number one call will be always there. So that will be an overhead for the client. Let's see what is, server side, discovery, right? So we have seen client side discovery. Let's see what is server side discovery. Now we have API gateway, right? So in server side discovery means, API gateway will not give that endpoint, extra endpoint to the client. Will tell, give that information to the API gateway. Okay, so API gateway will connect to the service registry, and then get the information back, like, where to connect next. Now client will send the first request, I need product information. API gateway will check which microservice is product information, where exactly it is running, right? So it will get that information. The arrow is there down, right? So number 3 response, it will get that information, and then it will connect to the corresponding microservices. So here we are offloading again, no, service registration part to the API gateway, so that, you can free the client of, that hassle, right? So every time client doesn't need to actually connect to the registry, and then check again, the before doing any call to the microservices. So it will be handled in the API gateway level only.